Let's talk about fishing. You know, my dad was a fisherman. He loved to fish, and he would take me fishing when I was a kid. And some of the fondest memories of my childhood were going fishing with my dad and my uncle and my cousins. And we stayed in a cabin and we roughed it and we fished, and it was great. My dad didn't even eat fish, but he loved fishing and he loved being in nature. And I do too now. I love being in nature. I love being on the water. And so I'd love to be talking about that kind of fishing, but that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is fishing as in P-H-I-S-I-N-G. Now, what in the world are we talking about here, Sean? Well, we're talking about this fishing. We're talking about now what is thought of as purely a cybercrime. But truthfully, fishing's been around a long time. Fishing is a type of scam. It is a way that con people scam you. They call it fishing simply because there's usually some kind of bait and you have to do something. You have to nibble, just like that fish. If the fish just swims by that bait, not going to get caught. But if you start nibbling at that bait, you might get hooked. And that's exactly what happens in a modern fishing scam. But I think the first experience that I had with fishing were the old Nigerian letters, and you may not be familiar with them. But Nigeria as a country has been doing this for a long time. People in their country have been doing these scams where they would send letters to people. Usually the letters would say that some relative passed away and they had some money tied up in some way, or had some ownership in a diamond mine or an oil refinery or something. And in order to get that money, this attorney is reaching out to you as their the only relative they could find. They would like to be able to put the money in your account in order to expedite things, and in return, if you're willing to do that, you're going to end up getting a big chunk of it, if not most of it, and it's usually a whole bunch of money. So, like here's an example. Dear sir, request for assistance strictly confidential. He was on a later Soviet space flight. I mean, look at this. I'm already excited and I know it's not true. Why are you contacting me about this interesting astronaut? Okay, so here's the tip off. All right, these letters, again, you're not seeing these now so much in letter, but these used to come in the mail and they got a lot of people. Now, how do you tell it's fake? Well, first of all, it's too good to be true, right? You already know this is too good to be true. The other thing is in these cases, they usually were asking you to do something pretty shady, all right, if not flat out illegal, all right? Now, the only reason I bring this up is because sometimes I think to understand a subject, we need to take the technology out. Phishing today is thought of as purely an electronic thing. However, it wasn't always, all right? Scammers have been around since the beginning of time. This is the same old scam. Someone's trying to get money out of your pocket or get control of you. And that's exactly what was going on with these Nigerian letters. But now what we have is we have a lot more sophisticated things, and the Nigerians are right on board as far as I can tell, because you'll get letters like this in your email now. So let's just kind of define what phishing is as far as today, what we consider phishing. And phishing is a malicious practice where cyber criminals employ deceptive tactics to trick individuals into divulging sensitive information such as usernames, passwords, credit card numbers, or other confidential data. These attacks often involve the impersonation of trustworthy entities, creating a false sense of trust to manipulate the target. Right? Common targets for phishing attacks are individuals, businesses, and organizations. Phishing attacks indiscriminately target a wide range of entities encompassing individuals, businesses, and organizations alike. No one is immune to the threat posed by phishing, as cybercriminals cast a broad net to exploit vulnerabilities. Individuals may be targeted for personal information, while businesses and organizations face the risk of compromised credentials, financial loss, and reputation damage. Understanding the breadth of these targets is crucial for adopting effective prevention measures. And that's why we're doing this presentation today. So we know a little bit about what it is. Did you know there's different types? I mean, obviously, you can get them by your email. And we've got great examples of email ones. Let me see if I can find one for you right here. Here's an example. This looks like pretty official. Dear user, all Hotmail customers have been upgraded to Outlook.com. Your Hotmail account services has expired. Due to our new system upgrade to Outlook, in order for it to remain active, follow the link sign and reactivate your accounts to Outlook. And it's got a link. Okay. How do we know this is fake? Well, if you look at where the email's from, which I can't show you on this because this is just an example I found on the internet, you're going to see a weird string. It's not going to look right. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there's several misspellings in this. I know that's not everything, but typically companies, when they're doing things like this, are pretty careful to not have things like your Hotmail services has expired, right? So again, this is just one example. I've got more. So it's important also to recognize that sometimes these emails, they're going to come from people you know. They're going to look somewhat legit. There's usually a tip-off, like the big one back in the day was the I love you virus. And I got one from my boss. It just said I love you in the subject line. And if you open the email, even opening that email, you were doomed, I think. And I didn't open it because it seemed kind of odd that my boss would be sending me a message with that in the title. Well, it got a lot of people and almost got me. Because again, it came from them. Now, currently the same thing happens. I will get emails from people I know telling me I need to provide them with confidential information. Again, your boss isn't going to do something like that by email. They're not going to say, hey, I need your social security number and ask you to send it to them. But a phisher will. So emails, websites. Okay, and this is a big one too. The actual creation of entire fake websites. It's something that you have to be aware of when you're doing a Google search and you look at these sites. Sometimes they look legit, but usually there's just one letter off or two letters off. There's something a little different in that address up in the top. So you have to be careful because it is a thing now for these entities, groups who are doing phishing to create these websites purely just to get you to go to the website and click different links. And by clicking these links, you are giving them access to things that you are not aware of. So websites are one. Attackers will manipulate URLs to deceive users into believing they're accessing the legitimate website. The manipulation may involve misspelling common domain names, using subdomains or names, or incorporating other tactics to make the fraudulent URL appear genuine. But again, if you look at it closely, you're going to see a different, like open up another browser and go ahead and look up that site yourself. Just look it up the way you normally would and see if you can find it. That's a way to see how those URLs look. If it's coming from your bank or Google or Facebook, you already got a bunch of emails from them that are legit. And luckily, Google and Microsoft are not bad at catching a lot of the blatant phishing that's going on out there, but they don't catch them all. So if you want to see examples, just look in your spam folder and you're going to see all the stuff that you've been getting. All right. Here's some warning signs. Getting generic greetings. Phishing emails often use generic greetings. Phishing emails, they'll start with something like "Dear Customer" instead of addressing the recipient by name. They lack that personalization. That can be a red flag. Legitimate communications usually contain personalized details such as your name or a specific account number. Phishing emails are going to lack these things, and sometimes they ask for them. They tell you to provide the account number to prove something to them. That's not legit. All right. Your bank is not going to ask you to send them your account number so they can do anything. Urgent requests are another thing that will happen. Phishers will create a sense of urgency in there, and they say, you have to do it now. You have to call now. If this doesn't happen, we're going to lose whatever. And so verifying the legitimacy of that is important. There's a very complex phishing scam going on now where you'll actually get a phone call from a relative. This actually happened to my mother-in-law. She got a phone call from her, what she thought was her grandson, in a panic. And she swears it sounded just like him. And he's like, Grandma, I'm arrested. I'm in jail. I'm in like in Alabama or something. And I got to give them so much money or they're not going to let me go. And then someone takes the phone and says, this is police officer such and such, and your grandson's in serious trouble. Well, they were upset and they're talking to this person about it. And the man got a little pushy and he used some profanity. And that was the tip off to my in-laws. They're like, this doesn't seem legit. So they hung up and they called their grandson directly. And they got him on the phone and they're like, oh, what's going on? And he was confused. He's like, I'm not in jail, Grandma. I'm at home. I'm not in Alabama. I'm at home. What's going on? And they luckily did that and found out that this was not true. But it sounded just like him. And now with AI and the ability to go onto social media and get information, a lot of times very personal information, this is going to grow. So being aware that how the links that someone will go. Now that particular scam, they're pretty much targeting older people. You know, they're targeting grandmas and grandpas, which is despicable. But I could see the same thing happening to businesses. Businesses, oftentimes, especially in foreign countries, people can be kidnapped. And so this could be a fake kidnapping thing for a business. So that's just something to be aware of how extreme they can get. So that in that pushiness is always going to be there. All right. Now, links in general in any of these, whether it's email, whether it's a fake website, whether it's text, you can get these by text now. If it's so every link has to be suspect. In general, if you did not expect someone to send you something as a downloadable thing or something with a link, don't click it. If you have any questions and you know the person, reach out to them and ask them, did you send this to me? It's safer than just clicking things, all right? I embed videos. I put videos in emails all the time. It's a link. I wouldn't blame someone at all for not clicking that until they knew for sure that that was me and that's what I was doing. So let's, I guess, one of the other kind of types that they have is called spear phishing. And it's interesting because what they'll do is they'll actually target. They're being more specific now. They're targeting individual within the company, or maybe just it's a bigger fish. That's the idea. So when that happens, you're going to be, and it might not necessarily be a bigger fish, but the biggest difference in spear phishing is it's going to have your name in it. It's going to look more legit. And you're going to have to be more careful with it because they are taking more time to put in more details to make it seem legit. But again, there's always going to be weirdness. I don't know if all of these entities are foreign countries, but many of them, when they've been investigated, are from other countries. Most of them are. They may have locations here where they're working, but a lot of them are from Russia, a lot of them from Nigeria and other places around the world. And I don't know, it's a thing, but that English as a second language, you'll notice little weird things sometimes in these messages. And that's one of the tip-offs for me is if I see kind of weird syntax or the verb in the wrong place of the sentence and just something being said a little overly formal than even an American business would. That could be a tip-off that it is not real. Like, here's an example of a fake invoice. There's really nothing here to indicate that this is not legit, except that why am I getting this? Because more than likely, this isn't even this. You may not even have an account with this group because a certain percentage of people will just click things. They just want to know what's going on. Resist. Dropbox. Yeah, you have a new document sent to you via Dropbox to a large size file, blah, blah, blah. Click here. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you got something from Dropbox, through Dropbox, it's going to come from an individual. I use Dropbox all the time. And it doesn't come from Dropbox. It comes from that person via Dropbox. A little difference. Plus, you're going to know that it's coming. That's the other thing. I would have reached out. I would have sent you another email and said, hey, I just sent you a Dropbox. Look for it. All right. This is kind of a weird one, It's called the new tax calculation. We've determined that you're eligible to receive a tax refund. Ooh, that sounds great. And this is actually from the UK, but the same things happen in America. And you just click there to get your refund. Oh, yay. That's how it works, right? No. And here, this is kind of like an example of a Nigerian letter that that came online. So this came in email. Dear beloved friend, you could probably stop right there, right? Who does that? All right. Even if they're not scamming you, it's not going anywhere when they start with dear beloved friend, and you don't even know them, right? You could stop. So of course this you would never follow up on. You would never reply, right? Because that's the other thing. There's nothing here to click. These Nigerian ones, it was a different type of bait. They wanted you to reply, And some of the more insidious ones, they don't ask for a whole lot up front. But each time, they're also going to be accumulating your personal information. They're going to be asking you for your social security number. They're going to be asking you for your home address and your birthday. They're going to ask you for your bank account numbers. They're going to keep asking until they get as much as they can, so they can take as much as they can from you. And now, we have a problem, obviously, with social media. The medium, the number of places has just expanded. Same scams, different medium. Started on paper, moved to email. Now it's everywhere. It's texting, and it's in social media. So here's an example of a notification that looks pretty official that came from Facebook, right? Thank you for cooperation, and they got a link. Okay. This is not legit at all. All right. Now, if Facebook is going to cancel your account, you do get a very similar message. All right. So it's pretty hard to determine. But rather than click this link, what I'd recommend you do in this case is go log into your Facebook and you request within Facebook for information about this. So another thing to do is just wait. Right? If they're going to delete it, they're going to delete it. Trust me, if they're decided they're going to delete your account for real, you're not going to get very far anyway. All right. So just ignore this one. Now this one, again, it says Meta. So it looks legit. The other one didn't say Meta. So the way to tell that those were scams is because the profile sending these messages, they're not linked with actual Meta links. Meta will never send messages like this. So it's not going to come like this. It's going to have an official Meta link. It's not going to have this weird linkbio.co whatever. Okay. So, and again, if you have any questions, just wait. Don't click it. Hesitate. It's okay. It's the best thing that you can do right now. I used to have a friend of mine one time back before the internet. He said if he had to get the same letter in the mail 3 times in a row before he'd open it. And he's not wrong. I mean, a lot of these things, like if it's your credit card or if it's your bank account, they're going to reach out more than once. Now, some of these scammers are doing that now too. And the difference is that they're doing it a lot. All right. They'll be hitting you multiple times a day sometimes because, they're trying to make their buck, and they're trying to get through all these people. And unfortunately, it works. Phishing is extremely successful. And it preys upon people that don't know any better. It preys upon you being in a hurry, being busy. It preys upon the fact that we're overwhelmed with these kinds of things right now. So in general, taking your time and responding is going to be to your best interest. The other thing you can do is just ramp up your security in general. Make sure that you've got the latest, got a good firewall set up. Make sure that you're using good virus and spyware type protection. And all of these things will filter many of these things. Not all, but they'll filter many of them. So it's up to me, this kind of fishing I do. That dog, look how happy that dog is. I wonder what that dog is looking at. But fishing should be this. It shouldn't be cyber criminals trying to get into your business. But that is the world we live in right now. So I encourage you to be diligent, pay attention, spread the word. If people have questions about emails, have them reach out directly to people. If you get suspicious phone calls or you get contacted by a bank or someone you love, reach out to the bank or that person you love on your own. Don't take the word for the person on the phone. Don't take the word of that email. It's the only way to be 100% sure. And that's only if you care enough to want to click whatever's there, because a lot of these are just going to be clearly junk and you don't need to. And lastly, I would say you can always reach out to us. You have us as a resource at Social Dental Now. We're looking at this stuff all the time. If you suspect anything, just shoot it our way and we'll give you our opinion and hopefully help you avoid any further issues. So there you go. Hope you learned something today.